sisters, wherever they are. Lam Natseach, Mizmor Ladavik, and Chadina Biyom Sadra, Sekev Hashem Yaakov, Shlach Azercham Nikoidesh, Mitzian, Yis Adeka, Yis Karkam Michasecha, Vailas Chaydash Nesela, Ten Lechach Rivavecha, Bchalatzascha Yimale, Ranana Bishu Secha, Hashem Elhenu Nidgal, Imali Adina, Iklam Shalisecha, Pantaya Dati, Keshiat Nai Meshicha, Yanei, Mishmei Kachai, Big Rosesha Yiminai, Eleverach, Elvasusim, Anachnu b'shem Adonai Eloheinu nasker Nemakaru v'nafalu. Anachnu kamnu v'nisaydad Adonai Yeshi Amalach Yaneinu v'yayim kareinu. In chapter 150, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, B'kadshay, Hallelujah, B'kiyah Uzay, Hallelujah, B'gvuraysav, Hallelujah, Karev Kodlai, Hallelujah, B'seika Shofar, Hallelujah, B'nevel v'chinar, Hallelujah, B'seif v'machal, Hallelujah, B'minim v'ugav, Hallelujah, B'siltz Shua, Hallelujah, B'siltz Shua, Kollel Neshamat, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. And give pass around tzedakah to everyone here and everyone in your own places. Please give money in the pushka. Let's run to everybody.
Okay.
We will continue here with the Gemara in Daf Chaf, phase Amud base 22b. If you have an Eretz Gemara, most of us here should have one. We are on 22a, 22a4. We have a little bit of a conundrum that goes on. What's the problem? Have you ever had a problem in shul? Who should get an aliyah? Because of that, our Chacham, our sages, they set up a certain hierarchy. A Kohen always gets a first aliyah. Although halachically, perhaps a Kohen would be allowed to give up his space for somebody else. However, people should not start trying to curry favor with a Kohen or start getting angry. You gave him an aliyah this week you gave up your aliyah for him. A Kohen cannot give up an aliyah at all. The only exception is if you have somebody who's undisputedly the greatest of the great, the top sage of the generation. They could have a aliyah for Kohen for the first one, and the Kohen could agree to give it over to that person. Rav, the famous Rav of Rav and Shmuel, who, as we in the last several shiurim, and we described his travels and his journeys and how long it took him to travel to go from Eretz Yisrael, from Israel to Babylonia through Damascus. You see over here on the screen. So Rav, on one of his journeys to Babylonia, before he actually moved there, he came to a shul. And several things that Rav did in that shul, which we want to learn halacha from. Our Gemara is discussing how many aliyahs, how many people are called to the Torah for a Torah reading of a fast day. Monday and Thursday, we establish it's 3 people. Rosh Chodesh, the first of a new month, and Chol Hamoed, days when you cannot, intermediate days of Yom Tiv. There was an extra karban, an extra sacrifice in the Beis HaMikdash called the Musaf. And those days we had also an extra karban. We have an extra aliyah. We have 4 aliyahs. On a fast day where there was no extra Musaf, a extra sacrifice in the Beis HaMikdash, but there is an extra paragraph called Anenu added to davening, which we say on a fast day. Do we have 4 aliyahs on a fast day or 3 aliyahs? The Gemara brought a proof from the story of Rav when he went to Bavel on a fast day. Rav was a Yisrael. He was not a Kohen. Rav received an aliyah on a fast day, and he said the bracha, the blessing, before the aliyah, but he did not say the bracha, the blessing, after the aliyah. back in those days, the first one to get an aliyah, the Kohen would say a bracha before. Nobody else would make a bracha, a blessing on their aliyah. And the last person to receive an aliyah, so the third person on a Monday, Thursday, Shabbos will be the seventh person. They will make a bracha after the aliyah. Now, the fact that Rav made a bracha beforehand, and he was not a Kohen, and he did not make a bracha after his aliyah, from there we can see that on a fast day, we should read call four people for aliyahs, because otherwise, why would Rav not make a blessing after? Must be that he received a third aliyah, he made a blessing before, and somebody else received a fourth aliyah. So on a fast day, you have four aliyahs. And the Gemara says, nope, Rav was such an important person that he was able to receive the aliyah of Kohen. And the Gemara says, really? He was that important? Shmuel was a Kohen, and Rav was subservient to Shmuel. And then Rav honored Shmuel to walk in first. Whenever Shmuel was there, Rav would always be quiet and let Shmuel speak. So Shmuel is greater than Rav. Shmuel is a Kohen. So Shmuel should receive Rav, should receive. The Gemara says, Rav gave honor to Shmuel not in front of him. And the reason being is because a very tragic story, which we brought yesterday, when Rav first came to Babylonia, and Shmuel already received a divine message that he's coming. He saw the river starting to become all choppy, and a calm river suddenly become excited. And he said, it must be a great person coming. He realized it's Rav. He invited Rav over, and he asked Rav many questions, and he gave him to eat different types of food. Being that Shmuel was a doctor, Shmuels always bring good news, good tidings. Shmuel was a doctor. Shmuel wanted to heal Rav. Rav was not aware of his intentions, and he was giving him food and giving him beer to drink, but no water, in order that he should go to the bathroom and to relieve Shmuel of his to relieve Rav of his symptoms. And Rav said, whoever is causing me suffering on purpose should be punished. The children should not survive. How could Rav do such a thing? It's a different story for a different time. And unfortunately, all of Shmuel's children passed away during his lifetime. Rav had tremendous regret. He tried, it's so important not to say anything negative about another person, because if you do, it can have severe repercussions, unfortunately. And Rav always tried promoting Shmuel in front of him. So in front of Shmuel, Rav was subservient, but not in front of Shmuel. Rav would agree to take the first aliyah. It's no proof. So now the Gemara says, I could bring you a proof that Rav received the first aliyah. Why? Because he made a blessing before and didn't make a blessing after. If it was a last aliyah, he would have made a blessing after. If it's aliyah of Yisrael, the third aliyah, why make a blessing before? Back in those days, the first one would make a blessing before, and the last will make a blessing after.
Nobody else did. She said any brother.
Right. So the one is going to answer that there are different stages. Till every single person got an aliyah would make their own blessing took time, and there are different stages that different places adopted that custom. So listen, we're going to read the Gemara inside. It starts from Hacha Nami Mistabra. This is on 22a. It's about 4 lines from the bottom of the page. Called Hachi Nami Mistabra. Or 2 lines from the bottom of the page, rather. 22a.
22a what?
So if you have an art scroll, it'll be 22a4. Hachi Nami Mistabra. The Rav Kahanikara. In this anecdote, Shalom Aleichem Yossi.
שלום עליכם רבי.
ט"ו בשבט שמח.
ט"ו בשבט שמח גם לך ולכל בית ישראל.
Amen, amen. We're going to make a deep dive soon into Tu B'Shvat. But we don't eat latkes that are hot on Tu B'Shvat. Says the Gemara, Hachinami mistabra the Rav Hanikara. Maybe we could bring a proof from the story that Rav received the first aliyah. The aliyah usually belongs to a Kohen. Because he was so special and unique, he received that aliyah. Rav, it says in the anecdote that the Gemara said, he received the bracha, he said a blessing before his aliyah, but not after his aliyah. So if Rav received the aliyah of Yisrael, which is the third aliyah, he should not have made a blessing beforehand. So it must be that Rav received the first aliyah, and therefore from here was a proof. There's no definitive proof from this story that on a fast day you read 4 aliyahs. Rather, you could read 3 aliyahs on a fast day. The Gemara says, nope, it's not a definitive proof that Rav received the first aliyah. If Rav was the first, if Rav was the one, even if Rav received the third aliyah, he still should have made a bracha before. Because as stated in the Gemara before on the previous Amud, and nowadays every single bracha, every single person receives an aliyah, makes a blessing before and makes a blessing after. Remember the reason we gave? Because some people come late to shul, some people leave shul early.
Some people were busy talking with their.
Yes, that Gemara, I guess sometimes the Gemara nobody was talking during davening because nobody said that the Gemara did not bring down that reason.
Yeah.
But in the times of the Gemara, some people came in late, some people left early, and therefore the person who comes in late or leaves early, he won't hear one of the blessings, or if he comes in late and leaves early, he won't hear any brachas, and he's going to come to think there's no need to make a bracha when you receive an aliyah. So therefore, the Chachamim and the sages said that every single person should receive their own aliyah. In addition to that, nowadays every single person does not read their own portion that they got in aliyah. We have one Balkare, and they read it for us. So the Gemara says, La'achar takana. This, that Rav received the aliyah, was after the enactment that every single person receives their own aliyah, and therefore it's possible he did receive the third aliyah. The Gemara says, if so, that Rav received the third aliyah, he should have recited a bracha afterwards. And here we're going to have a very unique answer about honoring Torah scholars. That's going to be the entire Chamisha Asr B'Shvat, 15th of Shvat. Shiny Hacha. The Gemara answers the reason why Rav only made a bracha, blessing, before his aliyah. After the aliyah, he did not make a bracha, was because Rav was a third person to receive an aliyah. Heicha de Yasif Rav de Ma'ayel Aili. Rav, wherever he was, people would come and enter shul. They would all run. Rav is here in the town. Rav is a big guest coming from Eretz Yisrael. So you had people coming to shul nonstop. And so the flow of people coming in was constant. So whenever Rav was there, people would come late to shul. So Rav had to make a bracha before. The people shouldn't think, right? A latecomer coming to shul would not think that you don't need a bracha before the aliyah. So everybody's running to shul to go see the great Rav. He's coming to town. He's in Bavel. People should not think that you don't need a bracha before the aliyah. So Rav made a blessing before. However, people would not leave early. Meifik lo nafki. People would not leave shul early when Rav was there, because everybody was aware of Rav, aware of his Torah greatness, and everyone remained until the end of the Kriyas Torah. They wanted to be near Rav as long as possible. So therefore, there was no need for Rav to make a bracha afterwards, because there was nobody leaving early. The reason why we make a bracha before every year is in case people come late. The reason why I make a bracha after is in case people leave early. But here, people, when Rav was here, people might have come late, but nobody was leaving early. So even though it was after the time when the decree was enacted, that everyone makes their own bracha on Torah reading, bracha before and after, in this particular situation, when Rav was there, he did not need to make a blessing afterwards. So it could be that he had a third aliyah and maybe there was a fourth aliyah. What the Gemara is coming in summary over here, that although we did not prove that Rav did receive the first aliyah of Kohen, it is possible to receive the third aliyah, but there's no proof from this story that he should have a fourth aliyah on a fast day, because from the fact that Rav received an aliyah on a fast day and made a blessing before and not after. So from this anecdote of Rav, cannot learn a halacha regarding how many aliyahs on a fast day. But we learned plenty of other halachas from this. We learned a halacha about not leaving shul middle kriyas Torah. We learned the bracha for the reason, halachas about the reasoning behind it. So there's many other things that we learned as we're learning throughout this halacha, this story. And that's the way of the Gemara in general, that you go through one option to the next option to the third option, till eventually you come to an answer. So this is 22b we're up to. So now the Gemara will attempt to bring another answer to our question. How many aliyahs? What was a two-sided question? How many aliyahs do we have on a fast day? And we're going to bring a proof from Raisa in one direction, and the Gemara will say, nope, that's not a definitive proof from what you're bringing. And eventually, we're going to come on to the final halacha that on a fast day, you only have 3 aliyahs. Even a fast day like Tisha B'Av, where you're not allowed to work, you still only have 3 aliyahs that are called 3 people called to the Torah. But we're going to try bringing a proof from the next from Raisa. But I think we'll continue with that because the next it's a continuation. The next thing it's a back and forth, and so it'll take a little longer. Probably another 15 minutes to go through the whole sugya. So let us continue with some topics of Chamisha Asar B'Shvat, the 15th day of Shvat. Today is if you see over here, I'm putting up on the screen. Here's a picture of the Rebbe at several Chamisha Asar B'Shvat, 15th of Shvat Farbrengens. Now, it's a tremendous Yom Tov, it's a holiday. Now, is it a random day in the calendar? And what does it mean, Rosh Hashana, a new year for the trees?
Well, the interesting thing which I noticed is that the Hadith says actually certain bunches actually brings Davis the money that's been start up to the winter rate. And in Shevat, if you're ready to the second month of this, Shevat is the middle month, and two Shevat.
So the middle of the middle month.
Exactly. So it seems like it's like for some reason we have actually finished Shevat being midwinter.
It's midwinter.
The question is actually why.
So let's go. Let's explore the beginning of Tu B'Shvat. Actually, interesting. The Rebbe would always call it Chamisha Asar B'Shvat, 15th of Shvat. That's what it's called in the Mishnah. Mishnah Mesechta Rosh Hashana says the 4 Rosh Hashanas, and it calls it Chamisha Asar B'Shvat. So there's why is it called Chamisha Asar? It's the 15th. Tu B'Shvat and Tu B'Av, you can say, are more modern titles for the Yom Tov, for the day, which, it became sort of a popular lexicon. The Rebbe always called it the way it was called in the Mishnah, and in the Gemara, which is Chamisha Asar B'Shvat and Chamisha Asar B'Av, the 15th of Shvat and the 15th of Av. That's the way he always called it, with the term, with the Torah term. The 15th of Shvat, what does it mean is a Rosh Hashana for trees, the first of the new year for trees? as the Mishnah in Mesechta Rosh Hashana says, Arba'a Rosh Hashanim Heim. Right? There are 4 Rosh Hashanas. It's up on your screen. The first of Nisan is Rosh Hashanah for kings and for festivals. First of Elul is Rosh Hashanah for animal tithes. Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon say the first of Tishrei. The first of Tishrei is Rosh Hashanah for years. And Shemitah Yovel. And the first of Shevat is Rosh Hashanah for trees, according to Beis Shammai, according to Beis Hillel. Chamisha Asar B'Ai, the 15th of Shevat. What it means, what is a halachic difference of when the Rosh Hashanah of trees is? So there is a halacha, a rule, a law, that any tree till today that's grown in the holy land of Eretz Yisrael, the first 3 years you're not allowed to eat from the tree. The 4th year you're only allowed to eat from the fruits of the tree in Yerushalayim, and the 5th year you're allowed to eat from the fruits of the tree anywhere. Many reasons given for it, but regardless of the reasons, it's one of the mitzvahs of the Torah which we keep, regardless.
The thing is that outside of Eretz Yisrael, if you have the slightest doubt as far as actually the year of a tree, or if you have a doubt, if the lessons applying, let's say there's a doubt if something's called a tree, so you're allowed then to eat just straightforward. Whereas in Israel, it has to reach, I read, a certain probability before you actually assume actually that it's good enough.
Right. Arla does apply. It's called Arla.
Yeah.
Same reason, in a similar way, we don't cut the hair of a child, of a boy, until they turn 3 years old. Arla does apply outside of Eretz Yisrael.
But Suffolk Arla
does not. There's many different types of trees, of fruits, you could always buy because it takes more than 3 years for it to grow. There's a whole list: apples and oranges, a long list of fruits, which include most common fruits, which you don't have to worry about the 3rd or 4th year because they don't grow properly during that time.
And then suddenly there's a disagreement if somebody's called it a tree or not. So automatically, Suffolk.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what constitutes a tree in the 1st year or 2nd year? So it's not how old you are, how old the tree is, rather sort of like, tax years, the IRS, right? If a child is born, what the cutoff date is, whatever the cutoff date is, let's say April 1st, if they're, or December 31st, they could get their tax return for the child for the year before. They're born 1 day later, it's too late. It's your 1st year, the 2nd year goes according to the date. They'll give the child for an entire year, even though the child was only living for 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, but they'll consider the child to be around an entire year. So it's a similar type of situation is when it comes to a tree. If a tree was planted before the 15th of Shevat, so then even when it was planted a week before, once it hits the 15th of Shevat, it's already the 2nd year of the tree. If it's planted after the 15th of Shevat, you got to wait till the 15th for the next year. Why does Beis Shammai say that the 1st of Shevat is Rosh Hashanah for trees, and Beis Hillel says the 15th of Shevat is Rosh Hashanah for trees? It has to do with actually a very physical type of explanation, a definition. It has to do with, in general, Beis Shammai looks at potential, and Beis Hillel looks at actual. I mean, the Hebrew calendar, which is because of the extra month, leap year we put in every several years, it's commensurate, it fits with the solar calendar. So then the 1st of Shvat is when the moisture starts coming into the trees, into the trunk. So Beis Shammai says that as soon as the moisture, the water, starts coming into the trunk, that's already Rosh Hashanah, because now it's already there. We're already holding at home plate. We're already left third base, and we're coming to home plate. We're ready to start the new year of the trees. Beis Hillel says we look at the actual. When the water enters the tree, it takes about another 2 weeks. That's when you could take sap out of the tree. About the time of Chamisha Atzar B'Shvat, the 15th of Shvat, is when the water actually enters, the moisture enters a tree, not just in the roots from the ground, but it's in the actual trunk and in the branches all over the tree. So Beis Hillel says on the 15th of Shevat is the Rosh Hashana, is a new year for trees, and halacha is like
Beis Hillel.
Beis Hillel.
As in most cases.
Correct.
Although in many cases I read if she Beis Hillel, it said if she Beis Shammai is right, it's Beis Hillel, Beis Hillel did not stick to its own opinion.
Correct.
It should be convinced otherwise.
And 2 days ago, Rabbi Leibel Sheyichya, he explained to us very well the whole idea of the difference of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. One is Chesed, one is Gevura. Now, how was Chamisha Asher B'Shvat, Tu B'Shvat, how was it commemorated by the Rebbe in Chabad? In Israel, it's a tremendous bonanza of new fruits. The Jewish minhag, the Jewish custom is on this day to eat a new fruit. Particularly the fruits doesn't have to come from Israel, but the type of fruits that are grown in Israel, the seven species, or more particularly the 5 fruits: figs, pomegranates, grapes, dates, and olives. You should make a shechiyanu, take a new type of fruit, and make a shechiyanu, make a bracha for eating it on the first time that season, on this day of Chamisha Asher B'Shvat. An avel, interesting, someone in the year is not supposed to make a shechiyanu, but when it comes to Chamisha in general during the year, because it's a year of mourning, but you could do it on Chamisha Asher B'Shvat. It's a minhag Torah. Now, particularly among Chabad, in Lubavitch, what?
Just on the fruit from Israel, it could be any new
fruit, any new fruit. A dragon fruit doesn't have to be one of these 7 species. It's special in order to for the praise of the Holy Land to take one of those species from the Holy Land. But if you ate all 5 of them, you can make a shechiyanu on anything else.
Well, you could make shechiyanu on each one.
On each one or on anything else, correct. If you have 5 different fruits you didn't eat, and they're all in front of you, you can make one shechiyanu on all, if you have in mind all of them at the same time. Otherwise, you make a shechiyanu on each one. First, you make the bracha eitz, and then the shechiyanu, and then you eat it. Now, you see, here's a picture of a weekday farbrengen of the Rebbe, and the Rebbe has many platters of fruits in front of him. It's commonly called the Rosh Hashana of trees, and many people eat carobs also on this day, which is called bakser, for many different reasons that are given.
Carobs, you said, right?
Carobs, correct. Now we'll do maybe one of the lessons of Chamisha Asher B'Shvat, which the Rebbe will talk about. There are many marmorim and farbrengens which took place on this day. And as a matter of fact, the Rebbe's very last recorded farbrengen, weekday farbrengen, took place on the 15th of Shevat, the year 1988. Afterwards, the Rebbe stopped having weekday farbrengens, only farbrengens on Shabbos or Yom Tov. So it's the last farbrengen we have. A video, a weekday farbrengen from the Rebbe was Chamisha Asher B'Shvat. Many weekdays sichos the Rebbe would speak, but not sitting down, not eating with everyone. The last one was on Chamisha Asher B'Shvat, the 15th of Shvat. Okay. 15th of Shvat, how and when did Chabad get involved in making a big Yom Tov out of it and talking about since the Rebbe became Rebbe. The Rebbe would usually not hold the Farbrengen on Tu B'Shvat unless it came out to be on Shabbos, which several times it does. For the most part, the Rebbe connected it to the Yud Shvat for passing the Frierdiker Rebbe, which just was shortly before that. The Rebbe drew many lessons. One of the main lessons, of course, being that just as a tree constantly grows, a person can never say, I'm satisfied with where I'm being till now. You have to constantly grow as well. A tree always makes fruits, doesn't stop. Every Jew is compared to a tree. You have to make fruits. Find other Jews and make them your fruits. Make them also become sweet. Another difference is that bread is a staple of life. Fruits are not a staple of life. You could live just fine without fruits. And fruits are sweet. They're more luxury. They're more to enjoy yourself. And the idea of what a person has to have simcha always, not just that we're forced to do a mitzvah, nebach, I have no choice but to do it, but simcha. When and where did the 15th of Shvat became when did Rebbe start making farbrengens? It started in the year Tafshin Lamed Aleph, 1971. Very interesting. That year, a lot of new farbrengens that the Rebbe never farbrenged before started. Certain days of the calendar. Certain farbrengens stopped, certain farbrengens started. That year, on Asar B'Tevis, the 10th of Tevis, so just about a month and 5 days before this Chamisha, the 15th of Shvat Farbrengen, the Frierdiker Rebbe's Rebbetzin, right? The Rebbetzin, the wife of the Frierdiker Rebbe, Rebbetzin Nechamadina, she passed away. So as long as she lived on the second floor of 770 in the Frierdiker Rebbe's house, apartment. And the Rebbe would always have the Seder in the Frierdiker Rebbe's house. So, and all the Yom Tov meals would be there, Rosh Hashana, Yom Kippur, etc. Sukkot, and several interesting things. The Rebbe would make a farbrengen after the Seder. So after the Seder, the Rebbe would have a farbrengen. So after midnight, sometimes at 1 to 3 or to 4 o'clock in the morning, there'll be a farbrengen. Those stopped after the Rebbe stopped having the Seder in 770. But interestingly, 1971, she passed away. The Rebbe never held a farbrengen. I can't say never. The Rebbe would not hold a farbrengen for his birthday. It happened once or twice that when the Rebbe turned 60, he made a farbrengen for his birthday on the 11th of Nisan. And the Rebbe started farbrengens that year for his birthday, 1971. The 13th of Nisan, which is the yahrzeit, the Stalkus of Tzemach Tzedek, the Rebbe started it that year as well, 1971. Why? We're missing. I can't say for sure, but now that we're missing 2 farbrengens of the Rebbe on the 2 nights of the Seder, so in the week before Pesach, the Rebbe made 2 new farbrengens, which is, and will take place every year on the 11th of Nisan, the Rebbe's birthday, every year, and also on the 13th of Nisan, which is interesting, the only farbrengen of the year, which would take place the night before. Usually farbrengen would take place the night after. So for example, you have a farbrengen for a certain date. Always the night after, the Rebbe would make a farbrengen. So let's say the 11th of Nisan, it would take place a farbrengen the night after. A farbrengen is a gathering of the Rebbe, where Chassidim, the Rebbe would speak, seeking Nigunim, the Rebbe would say Torah, the Rebbe would speak very powerfully about current events, the Rebbe would say Mamarim, deep Chassidic discourses, and would say L'chaim. So, in a similar sense, on Erev Rosh Hashana, the Rebbe would farbreng. Starting after that year, 1971, the Rebbe started farbrenging. Why? Because it used to be the Rebbe would say Maimer on Rosh Hashana. And he stopped. The Rebbe used to make a farbrengen in the sukkah. Well, after the Rebbe would have a meal upstairs in by his mother-in-law's and Frierdiker Rebbe's house. Once that stopped, the Rebbe started farbrengen on the 13th of Tishrei. So these farbrengens, the 13th of Tishrei, Erev Rosh Hashana, and the 13th of Nisan, by all of them, farbrengen will be the night before, because the Erev Rosh Hashanah, the night after, is already the night of Rosh Hashanah. You can't have a farbrengen then. 13th of Tishrei, the night after, is already Erev Sukkot. Very hard night to have a Fabringen. So that would have it before. And Erev Pesach, 13th of Nisan, would be almost before Pesach. And so the night afterwards is already the night of Bedikas Chametz. The Rebbe would have a Fabringen the night before. Although there was one year, 1983, where the Rebbe had many Fabringens. The Rebbe had about 6 Fabringens in the course of a week, including the night of Bedikas Chametz, the night after the 13th of Nisan. And Erev Pesach was on Shabbos, so the Rebbe had a Fabringen on Erev Pesach in the afternoon. You can't drink wine because it's Erev Pesach. We don't drink wine on the day before Pesach. And you can't eat matzah, and you can't eat mezainos, can't eat chametz. So the Rebbe had bananas and water, the entire Fabringen. It's all he had. So the 15th of Shevat, the Rebbe in the year 1971 started a Fabringen. The Rebbe went to the Ohel on every single month, on Erev Rosh Chodesh, day before the first of Rosh Chodesh, first of the month. It's called Yom Kippur Katan, a mini Yom Kippur of the month. It's a time for Teshuvah. Many people fast on that day. The Rebbe would go to the Ohel of his father-in-law, Friedrich Rebbe's Ohel, every single Erev Rosh Chodesh, and every single 15th of the month, Tesvav, 15th of every month, when the moon is full, it's a special time. And the Rebbe will go on the 15th of the month, unless it was a Yom Tov like Sukkot or Pesach. So this particular 15th of the month, Tesvav Shvat, the Rebbe went to the Ohel as well. Now the Rebbe going to the Ohel, the Rebbe is fasting the entire day, not eating or drinking anything the entire day. I mean, the Rebbe would stay up. Whatever little sleep the Rebbe did get, he would lose it the next few nights after going to the Ohel, staying up to make up anything of the time that he missed learning while at the Ohel. But when the Rebbe came back from the Ohel in the year 1971, the Rebbe said, and actually this is one of the times where the Rebbe actually spoke in a, saying what happens in heaven, in Shemayim. Several months later, there was a yichidus, a special meeting with who later on became the Getter Rebbe. His name is Lev Simcha. He was yichidus by the Rebbe, and the Rebbe spoke to him. The theme, what he spoke by this Fabringen of learning Torah, and the Rebbe said, because the reason the Rebbe said, I went to the Ohel of my father-in-law, the resting place of my father-in-law, and I was told to make a Fabringen. What does that mean? I was told to make a Fabringen, meaning who told the Rebbe to make a Fabringen? His father-in-law. Right, the Friedrich Rebbe told him to make a Fabringen. And if I was told to make a Fabringen, I don't know why I was told to make a Fabringen, but it was a surprise Fabringen. So the Rebbe came back from the Ohel, and the Rebbe says, we're going to make a Fabringen. This is a total surprise. Nobody knew about it. Nobody was expecting it. It never happened before. A Fabringen on the 15th of Shevat. So the Fabringen was starting within an hour, and when the Rebbe came to the Fabringen, there was a very small crowd there. But as the Fabringen continued, got fuller and fuller, but the Fabringen was comparatively a very short Fabringen. As soon as the Fabringen, it was about an hour long, the entire thing.
You mentioned the Ger Rebbe.
Yeah. So the Ger Rebbe, yes, the Ger Rebbe, he was in a meeting by the Rebbe a short time after this Fabringen, the 15th of Shevat, and the Rebbe told him, I was told by the Friedrich Rebbe to Fabring. So the Rebbe, as soon as the Rebbe walked in, the Rebbe told them to sing the niggin of the Maimer, which wasn't usually usual. The Rebbe would say a Maimer usually deeper into the Fabringen. The Rebbe said a Maimer about Chamisha Asher B'Shvat, called Avar Rosh Hashanah, and then the Rebbe launched a brand new initiative. And you could say this is the second of the 10 of Tzayim that the Rebbe instituted then. The first being in the year of the 6-Day War. Right before the 6-Day War, the Rebbe established the Tefillin campaign. The Rebbe established the Torah campaign. And the Rebbe laid the groundwork for what would become known as Mivtza Torah, the Torah campaign. So the Maimer was about 25 minutes, and then there were two sichas, two talks of the Rebbe, both very, very short for a sicha. One was about 8 minutes long, one was about 14 minutes long. But the words here, and it's very funny, it could be literally said for today. In very brief words, the Rebbe demanded each and every person increase their Torah study according to their ability, and then go more than that, even more than your ability. And the Rebbe says, I want you to send this message everywhere in the world, specifically in 1971, those who are stuck behind the Iron Curtain, and make sure they get the message to them as well, in a harmless manner, in a way that won't harm them. A few weeks later, there was a Bacher who wrote to his friend, I'm sure you've heard about the last Farbrengen, and since it's Farbrengen, everyone has literally, there's been like a frenzy of Torah learning going on here in Lubavitch. Everyone started studying with tremendous diligence, harvanya, and there's no time for me to write letters to you. Right? When there's Simcha Bunim out there, and he says, when the Frierdiker Rebbe told me to Farbring on the 15th of Shevat, the Rebbe said, what can I speak to Yidden, to Jews about, a group of Jews? And I thought the most important thing to speak to them is about increasing in Limud Torah and learning Torah. And the Rebbe said, I myself don't know why I decided to speak about increase in Limud Torah. But it ends up being tremendous hashgacha pratis, divine providence, because a few days later, this is during what was happening in 1971, which war?
Under Israel?
No.
Well,
U.S. was involved in?
Was actually Vietnam.
Vietnam War, correct.
And Israel had actually the war of attrition.
Correct. So the U.S. government wanted to pass a law that would draft all yeshiva students into the U.S. Army, and this is during the Vietnam War. And the Rebbe says, now we realized why I was told to, the Frierdiker Rebbe told him to Farbring, because it served a preemptive relief, annulling this decree from the beginning. Obviously, Yeshiva Bacher has no place in the U.S. Army. It's not like you're protecting the Jewish people, and there are others who could do this job as well. The Holy Land is a lot different. Several months later, the Rebbe spoke about this publicly as well. And the Rebbe used very unique words. We must conquer the world with Torah learning. During the time you have to set aside to learn, nothing should disturb you. Nothing should bother you. It's not you have to fight with yourself, the Rebbe says. Rather, the only thing in your world at that moment, put yourself in the mindset, the only thing that exists is to learn Torah. If somebody decides, we see very clearly, if you decide to focus on something, whether it's a few minutes, for 15 minutes, for an hour, you're able to do it. It's very achievable. You don't have to be such a special person to focus on something. Anybody could do it. You don't have to be a Torah scholar. You don't have to be Jewish. Anyone can focus on something. When you learn Torah, it's like Shabbos. When you're lifted above. And look at the little words the Rebbe says. If the phone rings, don't pick it up. I think nowadays, some of the biggest impediments to Torah learning is people's phones, right? If someone comes to tell you about a business deal, you can make millions of dollars, tell them today is Shabbos. And Shabbos, I don't discuss business. Right now I'm learning Torah. It's Shabbos for me. If someone comes to you about a health matter, you say, Shabbos simin lizik or for Lavai. Shabbos gives a blessing. On Shabbos, Hashem could, you don't discuss health matters on Shabbos, and then the healing will come. When your family comes over to you and they want to discuss something, even if it's good news, you have to say, you have to answer nicely, but right now I'm learning Torah. Right now, I am a person who's learning Torah. The telephone rings in the house, and they ask, is the father home now? Can I speak to him? You can answer, he's not here. Why? Because he is not here. Now you're a mitzias. Now you're an existence of Torah. When you say this with sincerity, your family will accept it. And not only they won't disturb you from learning, they will prevent other things from disturbing you as well. Today's parsha and tomorrow's parsha is called, in Chumash, it's called the parsha of the man. When the man, that bread from heaven, came down. It says, the Torah was given to those who ate the man, the bread from heaven. because they didn't have to worry about the day-to-day worries of life. Hashem provided for them from heaven. Every individual has the ability to be like a Shleiman, to not worry about day-to-day mundane pursuits while you're learning Torah. Lift yourself up from the grind of the world and study Torah like nothing else in your mind. When you do that, the entire world is like it stops existing and it protects you. And how to achieve such a mindset is to concentrate how Torah is more valuable even than the Kohen Gadol entering the Beis HaMikdash on Yom Kippur. Think about it. The entire world, the holiest place is the Beis HaMikdash, and there, the holiest place of the holiest place, where only the Holy of Holies, one person of all the Jews, the holiest Kohanim are the holiest Kohen, you go in there once a year, on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year. There's many holy days, Shabbos is holy, but the holiest day of the year, Yom Kippur, tremendous level of holiness, and we say that Yikara Himipninim, the Torah is even more precious than the Kohen Gadol who's entering the Holy of Holies. A simple Jew could achieve greater than the Kohen Gadol could achieve in the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur. You realize that you have a geschmack, enjoyment in learning Torah. So we're going to finish off with we're going to talk about Mitzvah Torah for the next few times, the Rebbe's Torah campaign, but a short excerpt of that Sikha from when the Rebbe spoke from 1971, that 15th Shvat. And from there on, that's when started all the 15th Shvat Verbringings by the Rebbe. So let's do this.
Over the course of 42 years, from 1950 to 1992, the Rebbe delivered Torah dissertations at over 3,000 public gatherings. His responsibilities and commitments, how he managed to find the time to formulate this constant flow of Torah thought in his history. In this 1971 address, the Rebbe maintains that unlimited Torah insight is within the reach of every person, regardless of personal limitations or time constraints. Identificare agora na solução fixada, que deve via toda a finalização shopping, a outra câmera de conteúdo de muita coisa, para declarar o gerir como um ponto, para fazer um ponto de organização, que vai resultar em vários. Para essa eleito do indicado onde a gente a melhor de quando todo o universo, todo o universo mudado, todo mundo vai nós Krishna and the Roman student design para o todo e na verdade o todo graças a um mundo da todo graças de milênio e a graça de Deus ao metendo de graça ele para para o seu coração. En verdad, when I told system is graduated, we are in Pittsburgh. In local study program, is a human being choice, but the God will have you something, but the God will then not take it from Torah. Come to God in my mission, the first aspect is the God will come. When the Revival is in the country, we are going to progress the time. We have to do, but the government has 9 years, the that's where government functions that she is still is a very attractive right to service for students in research, the children are very convenient, the public of China Youth, one of the constitutions of the planet, and that's 9 years. וקוראים לנו שצריכה לחזק בעם ידינו מהנשום הגבול בחודים ובכל מילים בדיקים והסבטיבים להתייחס את כל מיני חיים. הזכיר אותנו וגם מדרש לנו וכיבה לחדש בזכות לנו וגם מדרש לחדש ולהתחדש ולא מדבר האקטיביות הזיתים וכאמרים להגיש לזך הדברים בשביל ותמזן מעלים וכולם בשלב ניתן בכל יום ויום יתרון מעמד ומולידם וכמה וכמה עתיד התבשרנו וברגע טוב ובכל זאת מתמודדים בתקיות מנזן טוב ובסוף היום לאחר היהודים במשך כל הדין מתדרנות ומנסות לו שהמסודת מסבור וגם דברים להביט מסבור שמתן סופר פשוט העבודות עצמם סופר ומסודת משהו ותאנשים לחבר את העתיד מגילה ומסודת טוב ודרך ממיסה וכיוון של העצמם ומסודת טוב ותורה מנזן לחלילה Vielen Dank von der Ordnung der Rede von der Ordnung der Versammlung, weil das den Nachbarn abgeben, der Liebe der Besucher. Natürlich müssen wir mit dem Tanz für die Medizin. Was dort die Sorge war, und wenn wir jetzt von viele zu sein, kann zu dir sein, in der Schule. بالنسبة لتعليم الشيء بالإقرار وتعليم الشيء بالتقليد بالإقرار وشيء إذا بعدين جاء المكان فيه فزاد الصبر على ذلك يجب المدرسة تحت بكل عندي سن الشهادة كان ذلك أسود كان فكرة مسؤولة عن كل إسرائيل وقلنا كل الإسلام والبلاد والبيت لأنه يمكن أن يكون سبب Isso já começava a olhar já também no cruzando o caso cruzando o caso e como tem os dois nunca tocar diferente ou nunca parece já você uma escola uma coisa já na festa numa da tempo de lembrar que está livre partido lembra o canto lembra de mais é possível e que não muito junto que não muito de mundo de todo o tempo de todo lugar Então, no shopping, aqui, eu para que eu já procuro, mas a gente precisa o sangue de rua, a parede de pessoas mais fixadas. Isso é todo no shopping, that is not new, that is all new, agora você vai tomar de casa direto para o taxímetro de pessoas de roxa. فهذه كلام الإقرار من معلوم الإقرار من التسليم والرسول الجبل وبدون رئيس أسمان وتجارتنا من دانس الرئيس الكتب بالإخلاص دانس الرئيس السورة والكيس من رئيس مرسك الشعب لذلك ليه وردات المسؤولية عن المسؤولية عن الملك عن الإسحاق إسقاط كما تلسبوت وتعدسترلوت وطان ذات الملك Ness'anno vedo tutto il vigilanno quando stavo studiando dove stavo studiando il futuro, in tutti gli anni